Before we get to the official nominees and get your selection, I want to go back to the start of the season when the team here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, we made our predictions. So between Sean Redditch, Damien Martin, Matty Knight, Rob Beveridge and myself, we put our necks on the line, and you're in a good position to be able to hold us to account, Cody. So I want to get your thoughts on who did the best job. So let's start with the Coach of the Year. Sean went with CJ Bruden. Damo, Matty Knight and Bevo all went for Brian Gorgon. I went with Chase Buford. Who did the best job?
Oh, that's a tough one. Look, I think...
I'm actually pretty happy with my selection.
I was going to say, I think Buford has done a really good job. Gorge he's been Gorge, but I think he is set to a higher standard than all the other coaches anyway. So I think it's going to be hard for him to win it. But I do like your selection. I think Buford has been really good this year. I think he's adjusted well to the league, because I wasn't totally sold on his play style to start the season, and I think he's done a really good job of getting these guys to buy in. And realistically, I think Scott Roth gets it.
Yes.
But I think of that, I think you're probably the closest there.
Yeah, so we'll go to that. So the three nominees are Chase Buford, Dean Vickerman and Scott Roth.
Yep.
So I'm the only one that could possibly
Yes.
get it right, but I think you're right. I think Scott Roth has to get it.
I think hands down. I don't think anyone else comes even close.
Now that they've made the finals, it was just a great job of him to get them close to the finals. Now that they've actually made it.
Oh, exactly. I think that certainly solidified it.
Okay, so the next one, most improved player.
Yep.
And none of us are going to get it right because none of the ones that we selected are of the nominated three players.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean and Maddie both went for Luke Travers. Damo went for Court Noy. Bevo went for Angus Glover. I went for Will McDowell White.
You're all way off.
Sean and Maddie are probably the only ones that had any sort of a chance. Yep. The rest of us didn't get that. Didn't get that close. Who did the best job?
Of those, I think Bevo's gone closest there. I think Angus was very decent this year.
It was.
I think a big thing for him is just finding his role, and I think as the season's gone on, he's done that. And of those selections, I think that he's probably been the most impressive between seasons. Yeah.
No surprise that he chose a fellow redhead, though.
Of course. They've got to stick together, right?
Absolutely. So the three nominees are from the NBL, Joe Luala-Chul, Keanu Pinder, Yanni Wetzel. To me, it's an obvious choice. What do you think?
To me, it's an obvious choice too. And Luala-Chul's been really good. Wetzel's been really good. He's been dominant as well. But I think Keanu, the jump that Keanu made this year was just ridiculous. And he just keeps getting better with each game that has passed. And considering he barely played, he might have played like 2 minutes a game last year to now being a starter and double machine and significant player on that Cairns roster. I think that's a fairly obvious one.
I think so too. Completely agree. Best defensive player. Again, I'm not sure we got very close. So Sean went for Mitch Norton. Damo went for Jack White. Maddie went for Mitch Creek. And both Bevo and myself went for Sunday Detch. None of those are in the nominated group though, Cody. Did any of us get close in your mind?
Oh, look, Nordo's always up there, I think. And I think Sean, it's a very, very smart choice to pick Nordo because, like I said, he's probably one of the more underrated defenders around the league. And Jack White, look, that's probably a good pick, but he kind of still hasn't really found his groove yet, I don't think, from what we saw at the end of last year. Creek, look, he had patches, but I think with just the fact that their team just couldn't play defense in general, I think that certainly hinders him. And Sunday, again, it's tough that it's only three because I think Sunday's been unreal this year. So I think you and Bevo probably the closest, but I do think Sean is right there with with Nordo.
CJ Bruden, very unhappy that Sunday isn't part of that nominated group of three. And I can understand his point, and I feel like he probably would have been if he didn't miss so many games at the start of the season.
Well,
He missed a lot longer than he expected with that cork quad that ended up being a lot more serious than he first thought. So I feel like he just missed a few too many games at the start and took a little bit to go. So the official nominees are Antonius Cleveland, Shayili, Xavier Cooks. I think they've got it pretty much right. We've talked a lot about those three guys all season. Who do you think gets it?
I think Cleveland gets it. I think without his defensive efforts, I don't think the Hawks are in the playoffs right now. Illy, again, I think he's probably set to a bit of a higher standard than everyone because we've seen how consistently good he is on the defensive end just over the past couple of years. Zay's been really good, but that timeout probably hurt him a bit. But, he's been really good. Guarding, outside his weight class and being able to switch basically 1 through 5.
He usually guards a 5 most of the time because Jerome Martin generally doesn't.
No. And Zay's so agile and smart, athletic. He can do that. He doesn't need to be a big bruiser down there. He can use his length and his quickness. And like I said, they can switch 1 through 5 and not have a problem with him guarding any of them. But I think Cleveland wins it. I
think so too. And it'll be fascinating when we come back next week to see who Damo gives his award to and who he hands his trophy to in between that as well. Now, instead of the Rookie of the Year at the start of the season, we chose our best next start just because we weren't quite sure which rookies would be eligible. So what we went with, Justinian Jessup was pretty popular. So Sean, Damo and Maddie all went for Justinian Jessup. Bevo and myself went for Ariel Hukporti. It's an interesting one. Out of the next stars, who do you think was the standout for you?
Those two guys were really good. I probably couldn't pick between those two. They were really good. I think Hukporti just figured out his role as the longer the season went on, and he became such a massive piece for that Melbourne squad. And then Jessup, we knew what we were getting when he was coming in. When he came in, haven't seen him last year, but I think he's just lifted his game again.
He's got better in other areas. He's now a better defender. He's a better ball handler, passer, and rebounder.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big thing for him as well is making sure that he's not just that shooter / scorer. He needs to add lots of other things to his game, and I think he's done a pretty good job of that. And I think he started the season with a double-double. I think he had 10 boards along with a handful of points as well. And I probably couldn't split those guys. They've both been really good.
Yeah, the only other one is Usman Jeng, who I think got a lot better as the season went on, so he was good too. But as for the Rookie of the Year award, we've got Bull Kowal, Luke Travers, and Usman Jeng as the 3 nominees. I still don't like that Luke Travers is there because he was virtually a starter last season, and now he's in Rookie of the Year contention. But that is the rules. But who do you think wins it?
I think Bull Kowal. I think that's a fairly obvious one as well. Travers kind of had a bit of a difficult time trying to find a role this year. I think he was better for the Cats last year, but he had more of an outline role and he knew what he was doing. This year, it looked like obviously I'm not sure, I'm not in the camp, but it looked like he fell in and out of favour a bit with the coaches. And he probably didn't play as much as I thought he would. But again, he's such a young kid that, that's going to happen, especially in a league like this, that you're not going to be, it's very rare to find someone who's going to be super efficient and effective constantly at such a young age. So I think obviously deserves to be in there, being his first actual contract.
Yeah, sure.
But look, Usman Jeng got better as the season went on. Start of the season was, I feel like he barely played and confidence was in the toilet.
He didn't look like he belonged out there at the start.
No, he didn't. And the more he figured out the league and the more opportunity he got, he did get better. And towards the end of the year, he was tough. He was really good. He's got a lot of weapons, and I think he's going to be a really good player in the future. But I think Bull Kowal has just been hands down the best rookie, breaking the 3-point record.
Yes.
So, which is, I'm actually surprised at that, seeing as he came in not being a shooter. He was a defender, and he, come in and shot the absolute lights out. So
you know Shane Hill pretty well.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like any of his records being broken.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I mean, that's a very impressive record.
I think he's almost 10 years older than what Hammer was, though, in fairness at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, look, I think he's been awesome. He's been really good for them.
Now, We also picked our leading scorers at the start. Obviously, Bryce Cotton ended up taking that tag. So Bevo got that right.
Yep.
The rest of us didn't. So Sean went Tyler Harvey, Damo went Tyler Harvey, Maddie went Justinian Jessup, I went Joe the Wild Chul. So it's another tick for Bevo.
It is, yeah. Bevo's doing all right. Jeez.
We might leave the MVP. Let's have a look at who we thought for the top four. And you might be able to remember who you picked for your top four as well, Cody. So let's see how we all went. We don't want to give Sean too much credit, but the scoring machine was pretty on the money. So he's gone Perth, Illawarra, Sydney, Melbourne. So he's just missed out on the Jack Jumpers and he went for Perth. Damo went for Perth, Illawarra, Melbourne, Sydney. So the same, he just missed out on the Jack Jumpers. Matty Knight went for the Hawks, the Phoenix, the Kings and the 36ers. So he missed out on Melbourne and the Jack Jumpers. Bevo went for United, the Hawks, the Wildcats and the Phoenix. So he missed out on the Kings and the Jack Jumpers. And I went for Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, Illawarra. So I missed out on both Melbourne and Tasmania. Unfortunately, none of us had the Jack Jumpers there. Do you remember what your top four might have been?
The more I think about it, the less I can remember, to be honest with you. Look, I think I had Melbourne in there. I know I had New Zealand. I'm pretty sure I had one of Illawarra or Sydney.
Yep.
And then I had Southeast, I think, yeah. But I can't really remember. But it's the first year that I've not picked Perth in it. And as soon as I didn't pick Perth, I just went, what am I doing? Like, why wouldn't I pick Perth in it? Because it's been one of those things that, like Gazy said, you pick Perth until they prove you wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, so probably one of the ones I got right.
Yeah,
actually.
No, you've called it well. Maddie called it well also. I've always felt when I've done this that until I actually see the Wildcats miss a final series, I'll always have them in there.
Exactly.
So it'll be fascinating where we have them at the start of next season. So none of us got the top four right because none of us had the Jack Jumpers. What about our championship picks? I'm fascinated to get your championship pick, and we might save that for the end of the show, but clearly Sean and Damo are not going to win because they tipped the Wildcats, and that's no surprise. Matty's still in the running. He tipped the Hawks. Bevo's still in the running. He tipped United. I'm still in the running. I tipped the Kings. Coming into the season, do you remember who you thought might have won the title?
I think I probably had Melbourne winning it.
Yep.
From memory, if you're going off form right now, you'd probably go with the Hawks.
Yeah.
I think if you're picking now. But I think pre-season, I'm about 99% sure I went with United.
They are the regular season champs now, so it's not a bad pick. The last two awards I'll get your thoughts on, Cody, and then we'll take a look at those two semi-final series. Best Sixth Man Award. So the three nominees are Clint Steindl, Shea Ili, and Xavier Ratton-Mays. That's a tough one. Who have you got?
Yeah, see, pretty much every other one has been clear-cut so far, and this one is not, because I think all three of those guys are really deserving.
Yep.
I think Clint has been so good being named captain and then being that spark off the bench for them.
Not only a scorer, I think he's proven himself to be a really good captain.
He has. He's done really well, and I think he's been instrumental for them coming off the bench and just being a spark and that scoring spark. And as soon as he comes on the floor, you have to find him. Yep. He's an absolute sniper, and I think he's been really good for them. Shea Ili, again, he's one of those guys that is coming off the bench purely because they just are so stacked. Any other team, he'd be a starter. You're backing up guys like Delhi, so who's an NBA caliber player, and I think he's certainly very deserving. And then again, Rathan-Mays comes in and he plays big minutes as well, and I think he's been really good for them. I think he's been a big part, as well as Cleveland, in turning this thing around, and he's been really good at controlling the team and running it. Oh gosh, I'm going to go with Ili. Yep, I'm going to go with Shea Ili.
I think you're right. I don't think there is a bad choice out of those three. I think it's the toughest one out of the lot.
Yep.
If we go to the MVP, no offence to Joe the Wild, but I think we all agree it's a race in two.
It is, yes.
Who have you got? I mean, Bryce was so good at having to shoulder such a workload, but then Jalen Adams was so instrumental in that 13-game winning streak.
He was.
but then he's got a mark against him for missing 7 games. I mean, to me, it's a toss of the coin. I mean, which way do you go?
It's really tough. And look, you have to take it off Bryce. You know, it's one of those things that you really have to do that, because Bryce has proven that he's the best player in the league for multiple years now. It's crazy to think that Bryce kind of had a bit of a down year to his standards, and he still led the league in scoring. You know,
Yes.
It's crazy. But look, I think Adams gets it this year. You're right. The only mark against him is he missed a bunch of games. Right, so he missed them early, and then this past probably 2-3 weeks, he probably hasn't been as good as he was in that 13-game stretch. But they don't go on that stretch without him.
Of course.
I think he gets it this year pretty much because they're in the finals. Really.
Yep.
But again, you've got to take it off Bryce, because he's just proven time and time again just how amazing he is.
I actually don't know. I mean, before this past week, I did think it was Adams, but then he missed the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So 7 games is a lot in a 28-game season. So I really don't know. I think it's a toss of the coin, and I'm fascinated to see who gets it. And there's not a bad option there. No. I don't think anyone can complain, whoever gets it. There we go, Cody. When we come back next week, we'll see how we all shaped up and who ended up getting those awards.